Amrita Raichand joins me. Hello, many congratulations to you. I can't believe that, we decided on doing this show in 5 minutes and it's come a long way.
Indeed, I was just going to say, and it was one of these Zoom meetings, if you remember.
Yep,
And within
totally.
5 minutes, you said, "This sounds amazing. Let's start this." And today we're on 50. Heartiest congratulations to us.
Thank you, Amrita. I couldn't have done it without you. So, okay, what are we talking about today? You're the one who normally sets the tone and then we banter. So, today's theme would be.
Today's theme is based on a day that went last week, 6th of May. The world celebrates this day and calls it the International No Diet Day. And given that Beyond the Plate has always been about food and healthy is not boring, and today we complete 50 episodes, what an apt coincidence to be able to talk about this particular topic. This day, Rishi, was initiated in the United Kingdom in 1992 by an English feminist called Mary Evans Young, who had struggles with body acceptance and anorexia. She conducted a small picnic attended by dozens of women who wore stickers that said, "Ditch the diet." Now, unfortunately, Rishi, 32 years later, we are still living in a world that is obsessed with the way it looks on the outside rather than focusing on the inside. Millions are spent to find that perfect diet, that magic pill. And a study, in fact, published in a journal of the American Psychological Association, UCLA researchers, analyzed 31 long term diet studies and concluded that these diets do not lead to sustained weight loss or have any health benefits for the majority of people. Now, believe it or not, Rishi, I have also been prey to diets like this. And when I was in my modeling days, I was on a constant, not a diet, but on that constant control factor where always I used to be watchful of what I ate. So finally, when I got pregnant, I just threw all caution to the wind and I put on 22 kilos. Believe me, it took me a hell of a lot of time to knock that weight off. The point that I'm trying to make is that the rebound effect of dieting and being always extra watchful of what you eat is not always pleasant. So, as you must have guessed, this is what is going to be the crux of what we are going to talk about today. And while we are on this topic, I want to quickly address some of the very popular so called fad diets. And I'm going to not quote myself, but I'm going to quote medical universities, medical public health universities like Harvard, who have given their opinion on such diets. So before we start talking about the today's popular diets, I want to touch upon a diet which was very popular during my 20s, and I have actually indulged in that a lot. I don't know if you've heard of it, Rishi. It was called the GM diet, the General Motors diet.
Yeah. You'll be surprised that everybody from Gen Z understands the keto diet.
Yes.
They understand the paleo diet. They understand gluten-free because sports people like Novak Djokovic have gone public with it.
Yes.
But none of them have an idea of the General Motors diet, the GM diet, which a lot of 90s people or millennials went through.
Yes.
And went through with a vengeance. So I think it'll be a nice thing to start talking about that, and then get into gluten-free and no carbs and keto, some of the diets of the modern era, so that people can actually compare those with this.
So the whole point of discussing these diets are actually to discourage people from diets. Let me tell you that. So we are not propagating these diets. We're talking about it, but at the end, I will explain to you why it's really not great to go for any of these unless you have a medical condition, unless you have been, advised by your doctor, and you really have to do it. Okay, so coming back to what I did, General Motors diet. I think the last time I ever did it was about 2020. 2 years ago, and I vividly remember one day I remember used to be no fruit, then one day no veggies, then a little brown rice would be added, then one day fruits and veggies, then a little protein would be added, and finally I think you could eat everything. Now, believe it or not, and I'm going to tell you all something which today they will get sued for. In one of my contracts, it was one of the clauses said that I cannot cross a certain weight figure.
Wow.
It was in my contract. So must have been after a phase of maybe holidaying or something. I must have put on weight. And then when the shoot was, due, I was panicking. So I did this diet, lost about 2, 3 kilos, happily went on short. But believe it or not, Rishi, exactly 3 days after following this diet, I was back to where I started. And I'll never forget how ridiculous it was and how tough it was to do it. And after all that pain, I was back to identical.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I used to move from one diet to another because I was extremely body conscious and I gave them all up, as you know very well by now. And what I really noticed was the rebound effect. The moment I gave it up, I would be back to square one and sometimes worse. I'd actually end up putting more on after giving up those diets. Sorry, continue.
no, that's okay because, I mean, since you brought this up, let me add here half the reasons why it becomes worse is because not just because of the physical impact the diet has, because of the emotional, the mental impact it has. It gives you that sense of struggle, it gives you that sense of deprivation, and then you go at it as if you've never seen before. So that's the really bad effect of these diets. Now let's talk about some of the popular diets. The most popular one being gluten-free. In fact, even when I share recipes, I have shared a few recipes which are gluten-free. But the idea is not to propagate the fact that, hey, gluten-free is better. There are people who have a celiac disease, something called a celiac disease. They are gluten intolerant. So for them, a gluten-free diet is definitely recommended, and they have no choice. But it's become a fad to follow and eat only things that are gluten-free, and obviously advertisers take the maximum benefit from it. So here, let me quickly tell you what gluten is. It's basically a protein that is found naturally in wheat, barley, and rye. And so every product that is made with it becomes gluten product. Now, here is what happens. According to Harvard School Public Health, long-term effects of strict gluten-free diets may actually promote certain nutrient deficiencies. They may increase the risk of chronic diseases. They may actually promote or rather cause increase in weight as well, because these diets are found inadequate in fiber, iron, calcium, B vitamins, and also rich in gluten actually is also a probiotic. So removing it completely from the diet means that you're removing something that's feeding the good bacteria in our body. So it's really, really not advisable unless, like I mentioned, you are gluten intolerant. So the Medical School of Harvard recommends that for individuals who don't have a celiac disease, who don't have gluten sensitivity, there is no need to restrict gluten consumption. Now, something that is interchanged very often with a gluten-free diet is also a no-carb diet, where even grains like rice, whether it's brown rice or other millet, other good quality whole grains, including pulses, are absolutely removed from the diet. And to my mind, this is even more ridiculous than the gluten-free diet, because here you're removing all the fiber from your diet, you're removing the bran, you're removing the satiety which these grains actually provide us, and they keep us full for a long time. When you remove all of these, you're hungrier, you are more irritable, you have brain fog, and a million other issues that creep up from a long stretch of no carb diet. So highly not recommended. And I have a gazillion recipes on my YouTube channel which are made with whole grains, which are healthy, which are wholesome. So please check out Amrita Raichand Chef and Beyond if you need any help in terms of recipe ideas. Okay, keto diet, what you mentioned earlier. We all know that keto, or the ketogenic diet as they call it, is high in fat and very low in carbs, or rather also sugars, because carbs also is equivalent to sugars. Now here, again, restriction of many healthy foods such as fruit and grains limits nutrient levels in the body. Again, following a high fat diet may be challenging to maintain. Finally, same symptoms like before. When you just take away all the carbs, you're fatigued, you have mood swings, you're irritable, you could have constipation. All of these, even headaches, are a very, very common factor when you're exercising diets like these. Paleo diet, do you want to talk about it? I'm sure you know a lot about it too.
I don't know if restricting dairy products, restricting fiber rich whole grains and legumes would do anybody any good. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm talking about South Indian cooking. Everything has beans and peas in it.
Yes.
Everything, and even our consumption of dairy. We end a meal, of course, with curd rice, which is not really dairy in terms of it's a probiotic, but even
No,
otherwise,
because
from
it is made with milk,
it
and
was
it is
made with
a
milk.
very
Correct.
important dairy product.
Yeah, so you can't end a meal without curd rice, and obviously your filter coffee has milk, and there's huge consumption of milk among people. We're not a big tea drinking state, for example, so people would either drink a lot of milk with Horlicks or just filter coffee, and the rarity of having tea in the evening. So I mean, to me, that as well as the Atkins, which is completely focused on burning fat, are the real extreme ones. Guys, before we progress, the Ask Amrita section comes on at the end, 9833 943 943. Please ask questions on types of diets, nutrition, food history, anything. She picks up questions and answers them with great sensitivity. 9833 943 943. The show is on 8:15 to 9 a.m. Mumbai, Delhi, Bengaluru, Chennai on Mondays. 48 hours later on Wednesday on the Radio 1 International YouTube channel comes the video. The recipe of the day is filmed in Amrita's home studio kitchen, and that is on at 94.3 Radio 1 India on Instagram and at Amrita Raichand on Instagram. And Chef and Beyond is a wonderful YouTube channel. You must subscribe to it. All right. I know that you want to talk about, to do a summation on why dieting is such an ordeal. uh, we need to dive into the recipe of the day. So maybe you can just do a quick roundup and then dive into that.
Yes, I will. Also, because, with my experience of being in food and in the space where I have always propagated healthy eating, healthy cooking, and a healthy overall lifestyle, I think it's really, really important to understand why getting trapped into this whole fad diet business is just not advisable. I'll share a few principles just like I did on Mother's Day, and I'm hoping that, it helps you in some way or the other. I genuinely believe that dieting is not only an ordeal, especially for those like me who love eating. It's actually really dangerous for our bodies to be in a constant state of struggle. And definitely, when you remove important food groups like fiber and protein and healthy fats and calcium, it's just not fair to the body. Also, if you do follow diets, if you must follow diets, use it just to jumpstart your losing weight journey, because it does help to some extent. But do not be stuck into the chakra view of these diets. Use your knowledge to understand and indulge in long-term eating and lifestyle changes for keeping that weight off. Now, I cannot emphasize more on how important exercising is, because along with any diet you do, if you don't exercise enough, your metabolism will be low, your happiness quotient will be low. So please, with whatever you do, exercise at least 3 to 4 times a week, if not more. Educate yourself about nutritious food vis-a-vis processed food. Understand what are the different groups of food, and try and maintain a healthy balance of protein, carbohydrates, healthy fats, fiber in every meal adequately, because even if you skip an important element in one meal, you will see the result of it, where you will crave a lot more food in the next one. Most importantly, learn to love yourself the way you are, and also respect those who are probably struggling with eating disorders or have gone to the extent of indulging in weight loss surgeries. Let's help them by being their friend and just making them feel good about themselves. And finally, have that one day where you take a break from all your misconceptions or perceptions of food and eat exactly what you want. Which brings me to the recipe of the day, which is an indulgent and super delicious, super creamy mac and cheese. How do you like that, Rishi?
Fantastic. Can't wait for that one. Simple, effective. Let's go.
So, mac and cheese is made with the macaroni pasta. Ideally, you can make it with some other pasta, as long as it has a tubular, element, like a shell pasta will also work, because this delicious cheesy sauce that you make needs to get trapped inside these, macaroni or shells, because every bite should be that that gooey, cheesy feel. So you first boil the pasta with lots of water and lots of salt. You drain it al dente, which means please do not overcook it. Leave it slightly undercooked. You take a pan, add butter, add some all-purpose flour, cook it out a little till the raw smell disappears. Then you add in some Dijon mustard, some cayenne pepper, some salt and pepper, and add a little milk, and then start adding milk little by little to create a nice, creamy white sauce. Now, this is mac and cheese, so the cheese element has to come. All right. Now, in mac and cheese, quintessentially, you need to add at least three different types of cheeses. One is the melting type, which adds a bit of stringiness. The other is the one that adds a lot of flavor. And finally, something like a Parmesan, which forms a beautiful crust on top. So you add all of these three cheeses after the pasta has been mixed in the white sauce, and then you add it to a baking dish and bake it. I promise you, Rishi, today is the day to have it. I'm going to make it right after this recording all over again. But this recipe will be shared, is up on my Instagram, on my YouTube channel for everyone to see. So don't forget to check it out.
Bring it to the studio next time so that we can eat and celebrate the 50th episode. All right, ask Amrita. This is Neeti. Do you have any suggestions for preserving or storing jackfruit for future use? Considering you did such a wonderful episode on the efficacy of using jackfruit, not just as a vegetable, but also as a fruit. So how do you store it?
So, Neeti, I'm glad you enjoyed the jackfruit episode. In fact, I got great feedback on that, Rishi, even on my YouTube channel. Everybody loved the recipe. So, how do you store it? Like I had mentioned before, vendors nowadays cut the jackfruit and give it to you. They cut it, clean it, and give it to you. So, first things first, buy only the amount that you need. For whatever reason, if you still have some left over, you can easily store it in an airtight container. In the freezer. In the fridge, it stays easily for about 3 to 4 days. In the freezer, even till 10 days. Keep it intact along with the seeds. Secondly, if you really love jackfruit like I do, make a pickle out of it, because that's truly the best way to enjoy jackfruit for a really long time, even after the season is gone.
Lovely. That's episode 50. It's a wrap. We're going to be back next week for episode number 51 of Beyond the Plate with Chef Amrita Raichand and Hrishi K. Thank you for your time. See you next week. Bye-bye.
See you next week, Rishi. Bye, everyone. Happy No International Dad Day.
94.3 Radio 1.